It's like kind of episode of How It's Made. How It's Made. Slut powder for finding out if your wife cheated on you. On today's episode. They take small brown particles from where the animals get slaughtered, and they scoop that up shittily with their hand. Next, the worker takes some even darker brown powder and puts it in a cup.
They mix it with water, and they give it to a woman who's fearing for her life. Dearly beloved, welcome to the Unblessed Podcast, where we inquire and exposit the mysteries of that ancient text, that good book itself, the Holy Bible. We are not theologians nor historians. We are but armchair philosophers who spent years in seminary or on a church staff and have since departed to make our own way. We invite you now to read, think, and laugh with us as we dive deep into the denominational doctrines of the divine in the Unblessed Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unblessed Podcast. My name is Evan.
And I'm Scott.
And we are two ex-accountability buddies. Scott, did you ever have an accountability buddy for...
Accountability buddies.
Did you ever have...
Accountability buddies.
Did you have a song?
No.
For accountability buddies?
That just... The Lord just led me right there.
Okay,
He said, do that.
You said, do that? Gotcha. Did you ever have an accountability buddy?
I never used that term, but I did have accountability partners. We were partners, in life.
Yeah.
At that moment. So,
gotcha. What did you do?
The first one I had.
The first one?
Well, I think I have multiple accountability partners in my life. I'm just trying to remember the first time someone was like, hey, you should be held accountable for what you're doing.
You never forget your first.
Well, clearly I did. I'm trying to remember.
Scott's accountability partner is going to call onto this podcast that is a closed show, not an open radio show.
Yeah, we do not have the technology or the patience to set
or
that
the
up.
desire. But they're just going to be like, I can't believe you forgot about our time together where we talked about whether or not we jerked off.
I don't remember the first time someone approached me about like, hey, you should be held accountable for what you do alone.
I think my accountability partnering was more polyamorous than like monogamous.
Was he had multiple
accountability? Yeah.
I think I had like I do remember, in college and then post-college, I definitely had a group. So there was like a polyamorous group of men that would check in about my sexual health.
Yep.
From time to time.
In case we've lost anybody.
Yeah. Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah. When we talk about like accountability partners and stuff like that, usually that was kind of a thing for men, or boys, where it was like, all right, make sure you're not jaying off. That's essentially what it was. Like,
it was always
dudes talking to each other about whether or not they jayed off this week.
Usually at Denny's, or some breakfast spot.
My roommate and I had a calendar of whether or not we jayed off or not.
Just at a public, just like paper calendar right there for anyone to walk in.
It really was a pretty much like
everyone
like if anybody like got invited over.
So like if I walked into your room, I would see like a bunch of X's on the days.
It was kind of it was in like a little bit of a foyer between our rooms.
Oh, foyer between the rooms.
Yeah.
That's some wood floor energy right there.
Yeah, he was like, my girlfriend's coming over, but I told her not to look at it. And I was like, cool.
My girlfriend's coming over to look at my accountability calendar. I'm just imagining like a prison wall, like trying to remember what day it is, but there's just like etchings of like just madmen for months and months and months going
Essentially.
2, start over, 2, start over, 2, start
Two.
over, 2.
Well, it was like
My record is 3.
X's on. It was like it was X's on days where we did
Where God
you know,
sinned
where
against
we made God cry.
Okay.
Um,
How many X's on the calendar in a typical month? Please don't say
out
more
of-
than one.
out of the 31 days.
How many times did you make God cry in the span of a month?
Well, I mean, he took his anger out on somebody, but
Well, yeah, I do recall having. So after college, when I was a pastor working at a church, one thing they wanted us to do was sign up for an app. And I can't remember if I've talked about this, but I'm old and we're talking about it today. It was Covenant Eyes. And Evan, I don't know. Did you ever use Covenant Eyes?
nope.
Okay, fantastic.
I was too
TLDR.
cool.
Yeah. Covenant Eyes was an app that would track your internet history, and then it would just send it to whoever was on your like list as an accountability partner. So you could have one person or multiple people. I had like a group of people, and you would install this on your phone or computer, any device you had. If you had a smart fridge, you had to put it on your smart fridge. Then anything that was nefarious, it would just get automatically sent to as an email to your partners. So most people just go, why don't you just like use a private browser and get around it? Yes, that's what you could do. But the best part of this whole story is that some people in the accountability group didn't know that was a thing and still made God cry while having this installed on their device. And it was unbelievably funny. So
Gosh.
every week I would get, it was called like a Covenant Eyes report from I think I had maybe just 2 people I was signed up for in our group. And I would just get like, Bob, here's Bob's accountability report from this week. And I would say out of the, I don't know how many weeks I had that thing on my phone, maybe 99 times out of 100, it was like, there's nothing to report. But there was one time that I got a full email from somebody. I will never forget it. The things I read, I was just like eating it up. It was so delicious. I was like, what did they look at? It was so delightful. I was dying. But here's my question, Evan. You're in that group and you sign up for that thing for the sole purpose of confronting somebody about what they searched.
Oh, no.
Do you do that? You get the email. Do you confront them or do you do what I do? And I just pretend like nothing ever happened. And
I do think Evan in that space and time would have confronted the person. I would have been like, hey, I'm just coming to you as a brother in Christ because I would want the same thing. I would want, if I found, if you got a notification from me, I would want you to do the same thing to me because iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah. Iron
and then I just like slide the phone across him and be like, brother, how we doing?
I got a long email from you, brother.
Yeah, long email from Covenant Eyes.
Yeah. You want to talk about
Can you
it?
talk to me?
I think the other funny part about this is that...
And we would do it in public.
Yeah.
I would shame him in a public Starbucks.
Subway.
I'd be like, yeah. I'd go to some Christian coffee shop like Quill's.
A Christian
and I would
Subway.
sit there. Yeah. I would sit there with him and I'd go, hey, you need to get right with God.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
You're
do
making
that.
God cry.
It'd be more along the lines of what I was describing, where it was just a lot of Christian speak of like,
of course,
hey, brother,
you're not doing your best when we're getting these emails.
No, and I get it, man. Like I understand.
Yeah.
I get I get what's going on with you, but like, I just want to bring this to your attention that I know what's going on. I'm not trying to shame you, not trying to do anything. But
I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just trying to make you feel really bad about something.
I am trying to open up this wound.
I think the other funny thing though is that the person who signed up for this knows that you got it. Like they know I saw it. Like because I'm pretty sure it would show you the report.
Weird Sunday at church.
Yeah, so it's like I walked around. So get this, Evan, you would know this person, but I had to walk around for the rest of my time at this church. Like I know exactly what you did, and I know your secret, and I'm never telling a soul.
Yeah.
Oh, so
did you ever slip it into conversation? Like if y'all were like shooting the shit at some point and just, saying, gross things. And then you're just like, and Daryl over here likes butt shaped like corn. Like,
oh yes. Where he was on www.cornshapedbutts.com.
Corn butts. I don't know. I didn't want to get specific with it.
Thank you
but
for saving our pod. For once, thank you for looking out for our listeners, Evan. We really appreciate you. I'm so glad that you, after 65 episodes, you finally decided I better censor what I'm about to say.
Not all heroes wear capes. But did you ever just see if he picked up on it in a conversation?
No.
Drop in one of those? Oh man. I would have played with so much fucking fire.
Well, here, I'll add something else. So I don't think anyone will care, but the lead pastor at this place was signed up for this. This was not the same person, but he was also my accountability partner. And he messed with me one time. And I think this is one of the fucking funniest things in the world is that he had a great sense of humor. Is he got one of the emails about mine that had a 0. It just said there's nothing to report this week. And then he just copied it and then doctored it up. And he added 20, just ran. All I remember is he added the site funonthefarm.com into the list of nefarious sites visited this week. And then so he doctored it up and then he forwarded it to me and he was like, we need to talk. I got your email this week. And I was beside myself. I was like, what the fuck happened? I don't remember any of this. And then he approached me the next week and he was like, I freaking got you. But that kind of stuff, that was funny. But I never approached anybody. I think I got an email like that maybe once or twice and it's just too awkward. I just let it slide. I just was like, you know what? No one ever has to know about this ever. So yeah, kept that.
I would have had fun with it. I would have absolutely had fun with it. I would have just been like,
it's a weird time. I mean, so did you have any other so you didn't do an app, but did you have to
no.
You just word of mouth and trust.
Just word of mouth, just hey brother, I've been struggling this week. I've been, I know one guy, his thing between him and his wife was she asking him if he read his Bible today.
Oh, that was code?
That was the code.
Oh my gosh. Code.
And if he said yes, then he didn't do anything. If he said no, he did.
I was about to say if he said yes to reading the Bible, that would get confusing fast. Did you read the Bible? I did.
I did.
Twice today. My God.
I was in one kind of accountability group when I was in middle school or high school actually. And then in college I had some spring flings of accountability partners.
Yeah. We've all been there,
Then people come into your life and then they fade away.
Yeah. You meet somebody at a,
you meet somebody at a conference or
some conference, go to a summer camp, you make a connection.
Yeah. But okay. I also know there were some disciple groups that discipleship groups that were really hardcore on it.
Oh yeah. Some were more intense than others. It's sad that I've been part of multiple groups where I can have like a take on the type of accountability group, but there was some where it was like,
you can give reviews.
yeah, my life sucked. I recall
I have a bad childhood.
Yeah, some people
look at the way you stand.
Some people like would not care at all. It was just a way to meet up and talk, and it was really an excuse to meet up. It was just like, we're just gonna hang out, whatever. And then there was like the groups where you wouldn't want to be a part of, where you would just get grilled and roast. And I was part of multiple. That's probably why I'm so weird, because I was part of multiple types of groups like that, where it was like,
I sought those out.
Yeah, I did too. That's a problem.
Well, I mean, do you think we would be hosting a podcast on critiquing Christianity if we didn't seek out those
seriously.
At one point? Like this is the kind of people we developed into because of where we were.
See, I have to wonder, looking back, that I think adults half-assed a lot of their like faith, but then impressionable youngsters like myself and like you were like, well, an adult's taking this seriously, so I'm going to take it to the 110%. I'll max this out. Yeah, and I think adults probably would have been like, you can chill out a little bit. So I think that was, I don't know if like that's how you feel looking back. It's like, I know that so many adults in my church just were going through the motions for the most part. Like they just wanted to go to a potluck. They just wanted to, see their friends on Sunday. And that's as deep as it went for the most part.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think in my college years, I was surrounded by like pastors and staff.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a little bit hard to say at like the layperson level, because
that's a good point.
I wanted to be a pastor.
Staff are weird. I think that's the difference there.
That's the other thing, is it's just like, you were getting paid to be a professional Christian, so like
you really are like,
yeah,
that's what's so funny about ministry is you're getting paid. And so as much as you want to tell people and shout it from the rooftops that like, I'm no better than you, and like God loves us all equally, there is a small part of you that's like, but I'm doing this for my job. So I'm
doing this for my job, and so I'm better at it than you. But also, I have to look like I'm better at you at it, so that you can model what I'm doing. But I also have to be humble about it.
Yeah, it's weird to be in ministry, like getting paid for ministry, because that's the exact problem you run into, is where it'd be really weird to be like, I'm a terrible Christian, and then you're the one getting paid to be a Christian.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you can't just tell people like, I'm better than you because I'm getting paid. So it's a double-edged sword there.
Be a Christian like me, and one day you can get paid to do this too.
You can get paid to show up for a couple hours on Sunday and go to breakfast and lunch with people a few times a week and tell people you read your Bible more often than you usually do. That's ministry. Have weird conversations with adult men at Denny's.
Have a odd conversation with a stranger every now and then, and talk about it on Sunday like you just crack the code.
Try not to be scared around a homeless person that is threatening you in public.
Yeah, at least if other church members are around.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, ministry, you have to do all these things and put on such a face.
Yep. And don't be weird around kids. Just try not to be weird around kids.
Oh my God. Well,
which I think isn't like a good rule generically, but like
I was gonna say, I think everybody should take that as a lesson. Just don't be weird around kids.
Don't be weird around kids.
Well, speaking of weird, we got a weird passage to share today.
Scott, have you ever wondered whether or not your wife's cheating on you?
I've thought the same thing. I thought if only there was a concrete test for figuring out if my loved one has cheated on me.
Yeah. Well, boy, do I have a deal for you. So for only $17.99 right now, you can buy some sand that you can put in some water and have her drink. And if she drinks it and she has cheated on you, she'll shrivel up.
Oh, I like
But
this.
but if she hasn't, then she'll be like, fine.
Okay, so if only I would do that, but only if God sanctioned this test for me to.
He does. It is God honoring.
Well, what passage are we looking at today? What's
we were
all
looking at
this
Numbers.
hullabaloo?
Yeah, Numbers 5, starting in verse 11.
Okay.
So the Lord spoke to Moses, speak to the Israelites and tell them, if any man's wife goes astray, is unfaithful to him, and sleeps with another, but it is concealed from her husband, and she is undetected, so she successfully cheats on him without knowing, even though she has defiled herself, since there's no witness against her and she wasn't caught in the act. And if this is the world's worst run-on sentence, if a feeling of jealousy comes over the husband and he becomes jealous because of his wife who has defiled herself, or if a feeling of jealousy comes over him and he becomes jealous of her though she has not defiled herself, then the man is going to bring his wife to the priest. So the short version, the non-Charles Dickens paid by the word version is if a man is suspecting that his wife is cheating on him,
Yes.
then he can bring her to the priest.
Hmm.
He is also to bring an offering for her of 2 quarts of barley flour. He is
2
not to
quarts of barley flour. Jesus Christ.
Hey,
I don't know how much that is.
I don't know how many.
How much barley flour do people have on hand back then? Was
I mean, like, you think about a quart of milk and then just fill that with barley flour.
But, like, is barley flour hard to come by? Is it as easy as come by as like milk, or can you just find barley flour just pretty much anywhere? Like, it's in the cupboard right here.
I imagine it'd be pretty easy to find if you had a bunch of men in the desert and a bunch of women in the desert.
Well, what if your wife cheated and you have no access to
to barley flour?
But you really want to get...
How am I gonna know?
Can you substitute for like frozen peas or something?
No.
I don't know.
He is not to pour oil over it or put frankincense on it, because it is a grain offering of jealousy, a grain offering for remembrance that brings sin to mind. So a little bit of context here. There are different offerings in the Old Testament, different styles of offerings. They're kind of categorized differently. And then the priest is to bring her forward and have her stand before the Lord. Then the priest is to take holy water in a clay bowl and take some of the dust from the tabernacle floor and put it in the water. This is...
Sorry, I skipped that when I first read this passage. So to test your wife so far, you got to just put dirty floor dust into a bowl of water. Okay.
That's the first instruction. We're not done. We're not done. Remember, this is totally legit. Not weird at all.
This is in the Bible. Yeah, it's
There's nothing. This is when people say, I believe the Bible and the Bible informs my morals. This is what they're saying.
That's right.
After the priest, or hold on. Then the priest is to take holy water and put it in a clay bowl and take some of the dust from the tabernacle floor and put it in the water. After the priest has the woman stand before the Lord, he is to let down her hair and place in her hands the grain offering for remembrance, which is the grain offering of jealousy. The priest is to hold the bitter water that brings a curse. The priest will require the woman to take an oath and will say to her, if no man has slept with you, if you have not gone astray and become defiled while under your husband's authority, be unaffected by this bitter water that brings a curse. So the gist is, she holds the offering in her hand, the 2 milk cartons of barley flour.
2 quarts of chocolate milk. Okay.
Yeah. And he gives her the dirty water. And it says, if you haven't cheated on your husband, then you're not going to be affected by this dirty water. And he gives it to her, as we'll see in these verses. I want to kind of stop here, just pause and think about what we've read so far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think this is a good stopping point to just kind of take a bit of an intermission, because this is a very rule based verse. But this harkens me back to kind of like the Salem witch trials a little bit about like, all right, this is a test to see if somebody is a witch.
Yeah.
You know,
This has nothing to do with how guilty somebody was. I mean, this feels like a test where you're going to get about like 50% yes or no on whether someone gets sick from drinking floor water.
I would say like 80% yes or no.
Yeah.
Like
So it's like
going to be rampant.
My thing, if I was God and if I could revise this whole potion cast thing, I would make it so the thing they drink is not going to kill somebody. Like it actually would be a healthy thing, but it would make them sick. That would be more fantastical and prove the point better. Because to me, I'm like, if I brought somebody and I was like, I don't know if they cheated or not, and then they just drank shit water, I go, well, of course they're going to get fucking sick now.
Yeah.
But
Obviously
if it was like, oh,
sick.
drink a glass of OJ.
No.
And if they get sick.
You're right. Yeah. You're either going to have some nice vitamins or you're going to die.
Yeah. Like that would be more.
Cheating makes you allergic to citrus.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. These tests, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But if you have gone astray while under your husband's authority, if you have defiled yourself and a man other than your husband has slept with you, at this point, the priest must make the woman take the oath with the sworn curse, and he is to say to her, may the Lord make you into an object of your people's cursing and swearing when he makes your thigh shrivel and your belly swell. May this water that brings a curse into your stomach, causing your belly to swell and your thigh to shrivel. And the woman must reply, amen, amen.
And then die.
and then presumably die.
Boy. Okay, so you drink the water, the priest does this whole incantation, and then possibly your thigh and your womb shrivel up and fall off, is what I'm hearing. Fantastic.
At least the thigh shrivels up, the belly swells.
Oh, belly swells and your thigh falls away.
Yeah. So you get fat and you can't use one of your legs anymore.
Do you know what we have?
You kind of end up looking like Mike Wazowski.
If your wife cheats on you and she looks like a green-eyed Pixar character from 2,000 years later, she cheated on you.
I mean, where did we get the idea, you know?
Everything points back to Christ, even Monsters, Inc.
Yep.
We have a gift with the ESV Study Bible does have notes on this passage.
Oh, boy.
It's important that I read what the goons at ESV Study World had to say about this test for adultery.
Tell me what those Calvinists thought.
The test of suspected adultery. This ritual is an acted out prayer that God would show whether a man's suspicions about his wife's fidelity were justified. Adultery, like other sexual sins, causes grievous uncleanness and so must be eliminated from Israel. The test is designed to distinguish between actual but unwitnessed adultery and unwarranted suspicion. The actions all underline the seriousness of the sin of adultery. When an adulterous man and woman were caught in the act, they faced the death penalty in Israel. Great, Deuteronomy 22. And elsewhere in the ancient Near East, on this occasion, the husband is merely suspicious. To confirm or dispel his suspicions, the woman must offer sacrifice, drink water containing dust from the floor. Wow, they're just literally recapping what it says. Okay, here we go. If she's guilty, if it is not clear exactly what this threat means, but it could be a threat of miscarriage. Jesus. Ultimately, though, the guilty wife is threatened with childlessness, a catastrophe in Bible times. Wow. So basically, it's kind of threatening miscarriage. Yeah.
When it was talking about belly swelling and the thigh shriveling up, I was wondering if that was a reference to that area of the body.
I think that seems appropriate for what they're trying to do here.
Who knew ancient Israel was pro-choice?
Yeah. Who knew? I mean, right here, they're saying if you basically, if a woman
If it's
cheats
not
on her
yours,
husband, it should freaking die, I guess.
Yeah,
Good Lord.
Yeah.
What's this last part of this passage here? How do they wrap up this whole?
Yeah, then the priest is to write these curses on a scroll and wash them off into the bitter water. He will require the woman to drink the bitter water that brings a curse, and it will enter her and cause bitter suffering. The priest, which, by the way, in this verse, it says right there, it will cause bitter suffering. And then later it's like, but if it doesn't,
it's like drink this shit lead-filled, like infused floor water, but don't get sick.
You know the floor we've all been walking on every single day? Drink that.
Those sandals that have pretty much never been cleaned ever? Yeah. What's a broom?
You know the shit cleaner Stan? He walks around here. He cleans all the shit from all the mules and camels and everything.
Yeah, when you walk in the tabernacle, can you just kind of skirt around the part where we kill all the goats and all their innards just spill out onto the floor? Just, maybe over 5 feet. That'd be fine. Yeah. It's perfectly clean over there. It's where we cut our food.
Jeez.
For cooking.
The priest is to take the grain offering of jealousy from the woman's hand, wave the offering before the Lord, and bring it to the altar. The priest is to take a handful of the grain offering as a memorial portion and burn it on the altar. Then he will require the woman to drink the water. When he makes her drink the water, if she has defiled her husband and been unfaithful to her husband, the water that brings a curse will enter her and cause bitter suffering. Her belly will swell and her thigh will shrivel. She will become a curse among her people. Which I also think is, since a woman's role was so much childbearing and passing down of lineage, I think the curse among her people is also alluding to that as well.
I think so. That makes sense.
But if the woman has not defiled her husband and is, and this is also key here as well, but if the woman has not defiled herself and is pure, she will be unaffected and will be able to conceive children. Wow. So
thanks, God.
Essentially, I know. Essentially, what it's trying to do is get her in a state where she can, where just that part of her reproductive system is just shot.
Yeah, it's wild that for so long, the only role women would have is just to conceive children, and so if you take that away, you're taking away pretty much everything. But in this time. This verse, I honestly forgot this was in the Bible. I was flipping through, just looking for some, strange laws to share on the podcast, and then this one stood out.
I do love the last bit. I want to highlight this a little bit. So this is the law regarding jealousy when a wife goes astray and defiles herself while under her husband's authority, or when a feeling of jealousy comes over a husband and he becomes jealous of his wife, which, by the way, if it's clean, there's still husband is fine.
Oh, yeah.
Let's think about that. The husband's okay regardless. He can just have his wife go to the priest every single day if he wanted to.
Well, Evan, she's the one that got accused of adultery, not him.
Exactly.
Just remember.
Yeah, he is to have the woman stand before the Lord, and the priest will apply this entire ritual to her. The husband will be free of guilt, but that woman will bear the consequences of her guilt. So.
It definitely seems like there's no opportunity for men to take advantage of this law. I don't see any
Absolutely.
way.
It is open and shut.
It seems like women have a lot of rights. I see a lot of built-in clauses in this passage where women can, provide evidence, have a right to say something in contest of something else that's been said.
Yeah, definitely. She can definitely plead her case, argue her behalf before a jury of her peers. She can also face her accuser.
I just think we need to get, I'm so glad in 2024 our politicians are focusing on bringing God back into our politics, because this is how we should run courts, where if I think Holly's cheated on me, I think she should just drink dirty, floor water and should not have any room to prove herself. It really should just be dependent upon this God potion. I mean, don't you agree, Evan? Or
Yeah, exactly. I think what's missing from our court of law system right now, that we've
Potions.
kind of gotten away from exactly, is potions. Because like, what better way to prove someone's innocence than magic?
I couldn't have said that any better. I do think magic and, well, I don't want to say magic. I want to say this is divine intervention. You know,
I would call
by-
it magic.
no, magic's sinful.
It is a
Magic is
okay,
Harry Potter. This is the Bible,
all right.
Evan.
That
Use a
this
different phrase, and
isn't-
I'll concede.
this isn't manna. Like, this isn't just like bread from heaven. This is like, all right, mix up some water and the dirt, and then if this happens, then you did it. Like, it. This is very much just like, hand the fruit to the handsome prince, and if he sucks, he'll die, like type stuff.
I want to know, did the priests, like, was there a day that they just knocked a bunch of these cases out? Like, did they make a big old, like, Gatorade jug full of this water? They're like, we got 24 of these today. We got to make a whole lot of shit water.
There's 30 bitches coming in today. 30 husband are bringing in their hose to get checked in on this. So we gotta get a lot of, gotta make. I mean, they don't have to. I don't think there's going to be a Gatorade mix, because literally it's just water and dirt from the floor. Like, they've got an endless supply of the dirt.
I just
for
imagine
sure.
it's kind of like how those MLB guys, like, they make like the specific mud to like rub on MLB baseballs. Like, I think
Yeah.
there was a guy that would like find just the right dirt in this corner that he's like,
I've got the slut juice.
it'd be slut powder, like Tang, and then
Slut
you add
powder,
it to water
exactly.
later.
Yeah, it becomes slut juice.
Slut juice. I know the perfect combination of fecal matter, dust, human hair, a little bit of shit between my eyes. Then I mix all that up in a powder.
You mix it up. You mix up the brown dirt and the like little lighter dirt, and it really has a good consistency.
It's like on an episode of How It's Made. How It's Made. Slut powder for finding out if your wife cheated on you. On today's episode,
Daryl
they take
works at the
small
tabernacle.
brown particles from where the animals get slaughtered, and they scoop that up shittily with their hand. Next, the worker takes some even darker brown powder and puts it in a cup.
Puts it in a cup. They mix it with water, and they give it to a woman who's fearing for her life.
Now this guilty woman drinks the potion.
Oh,
Talk about
let's see
miscarriage.
Let's see what's happening. Oh, she's got to run immediately to the bathroom.
This whole thing, like, it really is setting people up for failure. Like, I think about how easy it would be to rig this, because just reading through some of these passages, there's so much wiggle room. Like when it says, I think verse 23, where he's like, that he shall write curses in a book, wash them off into the water of bitterness. So like, couldn't he just put anything he wanted in the book at that point and then just like rinse it? So it's like, what's stopping a person from like, I'm going to just take a huge piss in this water at this point because I know this, I want this person to be guilty no matter what. I mean, I don't know. I got to just trust the Bible, Evan. Just tell me to trust the Bible.
It's,
sometimes God works.
His ways are not our ways. His ways are not our ways.
It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to,
It is wild. It is wild that this story exists, and you have in the New Testament, he without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah. We are 270, at least in my Bible, 270 pages into this book at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we are not like deep in the lore. This is like some of the first rules you come by.
I don't want to defend the Pharisees, but I do think that like Jesus in that moment maybe needs a little bit more understanding of the kind of laws his dad put in place. And be like, well, there might be a reason as to why they want this woman to die.
Yeah. That's a great point where, we always are taught that Jesus was mainly out to minister and to rebuke those that were like extra religious, like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all that. But
I don't know if this was the law and somebody told me that
That's
this
what
was
I'm
the law.
saying.
Like, I would be like, well, fuck, I guess it's the law.
yeah, like what else were they supposed to follow? And I get that it's complicated, that like, there was midrash and all this like interpretation going on at the time. And people could apply passages differently, but still this was part of the scrolls that they had and that Jesus would have believed in as a rabbi. So that's what always gets me, is people forget that Jesus was and is, because he's still alive, a rabbi. So like he would have believed these or possibly even applied these.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue that, he one of the, the more famous interactions of Jesus, when he met the woman caught in adultery, and, he just, like you said, told them to cast the first stone, he without sin. He could have just told her to drink a floor water potion.
Also that, like,
right? Why didn't he? Why didn't he go, we got a verse. Just
I got
for
a
this
solution here. Let me just, anybody got a clay bowl of water? Anybody?
thing. Yeah.
Yep. Steve, thank you. And we'll just scoop some dirt into this. Here, if you can still have children, then you're good.
Yeah. It's
according
a great question
to the
why
law.
Jesus didn't apply his own rules. In this
Because
situation.
it's a stupid rule. Like, I think that's like, why? So I was sticking up for the Pharisees a little bit, and now I'm back to sticking up for Jesus a little bit. It's a stupid ass rule.
Yeah. It
Like,
doesn't make sense.
if that story actually happened, like, in that it's because a man stood in front of a crowd and a woman and was like, stop stoning her.
How do you think this came to be? I always think that a lot of rules and certain stories of the Old Testament were
You
like
have-
happenstance. Yeah.
You at least had a few guys who were just paranoid.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was just like one, goat herder who was just buff as hell. And all the ladies were talking about him. And all the husbands were just like, I think Donnie the goat herder is hurting my wife.
Oh my Lord.
I think that is happening. I don't have a way to prove it. They go to the Dr. Doofenshmirtz of a priest and is like, is there anything
Dr.
that we can
Spitchemin.
do? I know. And he's just like, well, let me see in my lab. And he goes over and he comes back and he's like, what if she drinks mud?
My lab.
And they're like, brilliant. Honey, get in here. Drink this mud. If you can have a child, which that's the other thing, presumably with this, is that they won't know the result until like, God, a year later.
That's
Pretty
the other
much.
thing too, is that they're kind of
Yeah.
testing this on the woman's response to drinking mud water, where
And
what if
whether
she
or
just
not
couldn't conceive it before that anyway?
Yeah.
It's like she
yeah,
gets
what if it's a Sarah situation?
sure.
Where it was just like, I can't have kids.
It's
Yeah, what if you've been trying and you can't have kids, and it's like, well, and then you're like, I think my wife's cheating on me. Well, have her drink the clay thing. If you can't have kids anymore, then she is cheating on you, and you're like, well, she couldn't have kids anyway. Like,
that's impossible. The potion says that she's she's guilty.
So has she drank the potion before? No, this is just
The potion's never wrong. I don't understand.
We've been praying about it, and she just hasn't been able to have kids. We're hoping for kind of an Abraham Sarah situation with maybe an Isaac popping out. So I don't want to risk my chances even more.
I don't think anyone would have taken advantage of this law at all.
Because the idea, I don't know, like the idea of, I can't imagine that this law was super practiced.
No, I feel like some of these laws, I don't know, were more
Do you think, maybe I'm thinking a few steps ahead.
oh, okay.
Do you think that this law was put into place as just trying to get men to shut up about their wives.
Oh, they were
Maybe
like,
cheating.
no one's ever gonna do all this. Maybe
No,
we'll
no one's
just
ever gonna. Yeah, no.
stop
This
their
is a
yapping.
deterrent. Like, all right, if you really want to be sure, take the gamble on whether or not you'll be able to have kids again with your wife.
Yeah, that sounds right, because I think men at this day and age, they love their wives and treat them equally.
Yeah.
So I don't see anyone ever just like, I don't know, trying to kill their child bride because she
No.
couldn't conceive a child. Like that wouldn't have happened. So
No,
probably just a
absolutely not.
deterrent, just like
Just a safely deterrent.
just a warning. Really.
I think for those men on the fence about it, it was enough of a deterrent to be like,
See, this really should be the test for loving husbands. Is what it should be
I know. It's
called, where
really
like,
a test for
does your husband actually love you and
love you,
accept you, trust you,
and then trust you and accept you and everything like that? Or do you have a shitty husband?
Which, newsflash, all husbands back then were shitty.
And now.
And now, newsflash, men suck.
Men suck. I learned that from the Barbie movie. Because I'm an ally.
I'm Knuff. That's right.
I am Knuff.
Oh, well, what's your final thought on this test for adultery?
I'm just glad that we can look at the Bible as a source for how to think about equality and women's rights in this day and age.
Yep.
It's such a good basis.
It's easy.
I think I saw David Platt the other day. Kind of, you know how he talks where he's like taking a shit every single time. But he was just saying, any practice of Christianity that demeans women is against God, and that's obvious with this verse.
Boy, what a bold take to say any verse that demeans women.
Any version of Christianity that demeans women is anti. It is not in God's view.
That is a huge. I mean, my tendons and muscles hurt for how big of a stretch that is.
What are your final thoughts on how to test if your wife has been fraternizing?
I'm in the same boat where I'm more interested in why this was kept in the Bible, because I know and I'm certain that there are verses that just didn't make the cut after all these years. Like there was laws. I'm sure there were stories that just didn't make it.
The story about the aliens helping with the pyramids.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah.
The story of how the world was actually flat and was flattened out like a big pizza by God in the beginning.
Yeah. And God kind of like spun it around a little bit and was like, and then like he laid it flat. That's how the world got made.
There's a lot of shitty people on this pizza.
The pepperonis will go over here.
Yeah, we'll make sure we keep the
God's
banana peppers
twirling
all the way over here.
He's twirling his Mario mustache.
This is a good pizza pie. Make this a deep dish next time.
I made light and it is a good.
Not the Gouda, not the cheese. Just
not the cheese.
I'm not a good Italian. It starts turning into Transylvanian really quick. You need to help me out of here.
Hey,
I am interested though in why it's been kept, but also, I feel like I make this point all the time, but to say that this is your guiding instruction in life, to say that this verse is important and is worth studying and praying over, feels silly. And it doesn't take a lot to read this verse and go, that feels dated. And it feels like they're trying to apply some magic where there's uncertainty. And I think it's just problematic. I think it's
that's all religion is applying
Magic to uncertainty.
Yeah, magic to uncertainty. Creating something superficial to explain what you don't have an answer for.
It feels like a very early attempt of science. Like people are trying to find certain variables.
A very, very early attempt at DNA.
Yeah. Like they're trying to find like, okay, I found out that if they drink a very specific dirt water, that helps people reveal the truth about their, sexual
if she
habits.
drinks the dirt, then she can't have children anymore. I think that's but her husband said she might have been cheating. So cheating plus dirt water.
I was imagining like
equals-
a whole grid of the types of dirt. He's like, so last time we got it wrong, and that's because I took dirt from the south corner of the tabernacle. And he like crosses that up. This time we'll do it from the north corner, and I'll spit in it too. And we'll see if that does the trick.
I like the idea of this priest like having like a big old chalkboard and like pitching it to everybody.
An absolute madman. Just, I've been working on this for 15 years. All the types of dirt in this tabernacle. I've eaten a lot of dirt.
I've eaten a lot of dirt.
With a lot of
My
men.
wives have eaten a lot of dirt.
And I've killed a lot of women.
Killed a lot of women. It is a sausage fest out here nowadays, fellas. Like, oh my God, we are hogs right now. But boy, do I have a solution for the fidelity issue.
Oh my gosh.
God.
I have to wonder though, like if it just feels like an early attempt at, trying to control a certain variable
Chemistry.
to get an outcome.
Yeah. Like at some sort of forensic evidence.
Well,
Which I mean, here's my like nugget of like optimism that I can take my crowbar and pull into this is that obviously there's this thought process that's going on at this point in time of there has to be a way to prove something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Like, and that's kind of like how human beings kind of like operated. You go back and if you study like ancient Egypt and the science that they were able to engage in is mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
What they were able to do with the limited amount of tools that they had.
Yeah.
It's insane. And so they had this ability to go, okay, we have this problem. Surely, and this is not unique to this scenario, but surely there's a way to prove it. And then we get
this. Yeah.
We get this, I guess, because we just don't have, the types of forensic analysis that we had with the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky.
It's interesting too that like, this is before germ theory. And I mean, people have no idea how the human body operates, how microbes are. They don't even know like microbes exist at this point. There's no microscopes.
They're just full on told not to eat certain animals.
Yeah.
Because it'll make them.
Which I try to like have room for that in the Bible where I'm like, okay, they don't know about germs. They don't know about, so it's like, they're trying the best of like, okay, no pork or no whatever, cloven hooved animals because they root around and shit all day. So they're trying to like be somewhat, I don't want to say scientific, but I like to think that they observe certain things happening over and over and go, maybe we should just make a law saying don't do any of that.
Yeah.
This one's unique though, because I don't know.
I don't know if they observed.
How do you observe? Yeah. It's
like, interesting. All the women accused infidelity who ate the dirt died.
I don't see how you can repeat this and like have, because again, it's like, what's some of the other kind of strange verses like, don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. It's like, don't like have mixed meat with its milk. It's like, all right, maybe someone cooked something in goat milk and it got like, sure, I can see why that was a law perhaps. But yeah, this one, it's like, who on earth was drinking water off the ground in the tabernacle and then also cheated on their husband? Ridiculous. So that's all I got. There's my long-winded final thought.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. You can find us at unblessedpodcast.com. Sorry. Please tell your friends if there's somebody in your life who needs anybody. If it's Meemaw, If it's your pastor who you feel
Your
would
accountability buddy.
your accountability buddy. If it's your 4-month-old child who needs to give this a listen, send this podcast their way.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time your kid's on their iPad watching Cocomelon or Bluey, turn it off, turn that shit off, and turn this on.
Be like, you know what? I've got some family fun for you right here.
It has 0 video, 0 flashing lights and colors. It's 2 old men griping on a microphone. There you go.
For an
baby.
hour. Now you want a way to entertain that kid for an hour car ride? Boy, do we have you set.
We are the most family friendly show on the internet
out there.
We help children's development amazingly. I mean, the research is behind us.
Yeah,
kids
the research,
go to Ivy League when they listen to us.
Yep. 100% of kids who have listened to us have gone to Ivy League.
That's right.
Yep.
That's 100% right.
100%
no one
right.
can refute that.
No one can refute that. Coincidentally, 100% of the kids who have not listened to us have gone to Ivy League.
True.
Actually, we can say it like this. Statistically, if a kid does not listen to us, they don't end up at an Ivy League school.
I think that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they cheated on their husband.
Yeah. And they also cheat on their husband. They also probably become murderers too.
Yep. And that.
So that's the common thread among murderers, is that they didn't listen to our podcast.
We could cut carbon emissions by 80% if people listen to our podcast. It's a proven fact that carbon emissions are cut just by turning on this podcast. It's true.
Yep. Carbon emissions. Also, do not listen to our podcast. So if you listen to our podcast, you're not a carbon emission.
That's right. It's very true.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. Without further ado, my name is Evan.
And I'm Scott.
And tell your family about us.